Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Things are starting to speed up, aren't they? Lots of stuff happening. We're going to get into the headlines today. First off, I want to follow up on Friday's decode on the movie Mimic. Let me pull that film up here real quick. Quick follow up on this Mimic. Now, we had found that this actually first released on the Fanta Festival and on Trump's birthday, and one of you found that the Fanta Festival logo is Batman. Here it is right here, Fanta Festival, Batman, confirmed from a 1997 movie about an epidemic in which they created a vaccine that was made from DNA technology. None of that existed at that point. Confirmations on top of confirmations. Now, let's get into a few of these headlines today. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Trump is ending weather tracking. Now, you got to ask yourself why this could be happening. I think we all know why. He's saying it's to save money in the budget. Trump admin ends extreme weather database that has tracked cost of disasters since 1980. Now, why would you want to end a program that tracks the cost of disasters since 1980? Well, to me, this suggests that weather warfare on the rural communities will continue. There will be costs associated with this weather warfare that will be unimaginable. So they do not want to track that, obviously, for obvious reasons, because people will begin to put together a picture, wouldn't they? I mean, why else would they discontinue the only evidence that we have of the cost of these natural disasters? Let's read a little bit of this. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration announced Thursday its well-known billion-dollar weather and climate disasters database will be retired, a move that will make it next to impossible for the public to track the cost of extreme weather and climate events. You guys, they could literally wipe out entire cities and no one would ever know what really happened. The Weather, Climate, and Oceans Agency is also ending other products it has recently announced, due in large part to staffing reductions. NOAA is narrowing the array of services it provides, with climate-related programs scrutinized especially closely. So, the way they're pitching this is, all these liberals, we're into climate change and all this, right? This is how they use the right-left paradigm to manipulate and hide evidence. Now, no one agrees with climate change, right? From Trump's camp, and neither do we believe in that. But we don't want them to stop tracking the cost of natural disasters. That makes absolutely no sense at all. So this is the future. Expect that there will be more severe, annihilations of different parts of the countryside where people are trying to get out of the beast because they do not want people to leave the beast. They want you in the matrix. Well, what else is going on, you guys? Let's get into this next story. Oh, so now they're trying to, once again, normalize strokes in young people. This is from today. Woman 22 recalls the early signs she was having a stroke that doctors didn't recognize. And now all of a sudden this is normal, which we all obviously know it's not normal. But they're going to run stories like this to get people to think that this is normal. You guys, 80% of the people who got the it are walking around like ticking time bombs as social media continues to censor out the truth and what it is doing to people. And if you don't know what it is, blame censorship. Now, there were a couple of YouTube channels that I follow. Young, not quite this young, but in their 40s, people should not be having strokes. People having multiple strokes and you go down and look in the comments section and you do not see one comment of the thousands of comments of someone saying what really likely caused it, that tells me that the word is being censored out. Same as going for stories that I cover. I go down the comment section in the stories, and it's the same thing. No one's talking about it, or no one's replying to my comment that I leave because it's not really there. It's shadow banned. They want me to believe it's there, but it's not there. So what does that tell you? Has anything really changed about censorship? No, it has not. It's not changed under Trump. We had the illusion of it. Now, if you're in the right-left paradigm and you're on Truth Social or you're on, X, you're going to have the illusion that the censorship is gone because your right-wing, values will be in an echo chamber. They'll be magnified. You'll get all kinds of likes and views. And this is how the right-left paradigm works. But the real core truths about what it is doing to people will never be known because no one wants to have any, mud on Trump's face when it comes to him being the father of it. They don't want to give the liberals any power over him. So they're never, ever, ever going to admit it. This is the reality we live in, you guys. This is it. Now, let's get into these Epstein files. Now, this has me upset because, and I'll show you my comment that I left on this story here. Pam Bondi continues to play games with these Epstein files. They're now saying that they have thousands of hours of Epstein with children, filming child porn. And they say they have to go through all this because they want to protect the victims. And you got to ask the question, what about the hundreds of people in his black book who should be sprinkled throughout these videos that they allegedly have? Why aren't they mentioning all the other hundreds and thousands of people? Are we supposed to believe that they only have video of Epstein with these children and no other people? Give me a break. If we're that stupid, then we deserve what we get. And why weren't any of these children who are obviously now adults, why weren't they given the opportunity to reveal what really happened on the island and who else was involved? I'm almost starting to wonder if the poster child that we were given, Virginia Giuffre, wasn't even a real person. And forgive me if I'm wrong about that. God forgive me. But you have to wonder if the whole intention was to distract, deflect, and maybe she wasn't even the girl in the photo. And then they offed her and then case closed. Where are the thousands of hours of these children? Where are these children that are now adults? Wouldn't some of them want to come forward and tell us all what happened to them? And you can't tell me, oh, it's because of the court case. They're not allowed. They probably had a gag order. Well, why? Why would they have a gag order? Shouldn't they be able to talk about this just like Virginia Giuffre allegedly was able to talk about it? I don't understand our justice system sometimes. It's a big cover up. And if you don't understand that it's a cover up, then you're probably asleep to all this. Who else was involved? Who else is in these videotapes? It wasn't just Epstein. Now, I left a comment down here. What about all the other public officials on video, quote unquote, with children? You mean we're all supposed to believe nobody other than Epstein is in those videos? Of course, nobody replies to the comment. Nobody thumbs it up because the comment probably doesn't even exist anymore. They just want me to give me the illusion that it's there and that nobody cares and nobody agrees. So when are we going to demand justice? Well, in order to demand justice, you would have to hold Trump accountable, right? And make something real happen instead of all this nonsense. But very few people are going to do that. The liberals aren't going to do it, right? And neither are the right. Why is Trump not telling us the truth about Epstein? Does he have something to hide? Why are they pretending that a dead guy and a 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre, who allegedly unalived herself, and a woman who we're not even sure is really in jail, Ghislaine Maxwell, why do they keep telling us that this is where the trail ends? Why? It almost seems as if Trump is complicit and is hiding something as well. Now, they can say all they want about national security and all this, but I don't buy it. Let's read a little bit of this. You guys can wrap your brain around this. Okay, it took a skeptical remark from a top Republican congressman to force Pam Bondi to explain why she hasn't followed through about releasing the Epstein Files. She says there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn, and there are hundreds of victims. Where are they? Bondi told reporters at the White House on Wednesday, and no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume. And that's what they're doing or going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that. Bondi was responding to newly expressed doubts from Representative James Comer, Republican chairman of the Joint House Oversight Committee, who told a MAGA-friendly podcaster he does not believe the Justice Department is in the possession of the records detailing the high-profile case. So, now you understand why I talk about the right-left paradigm so much, because it impedes free thinking. It impedes people's ability to follow through on a thought, to follow through on principle, because we keep getting lost in the fray. It is the single most important thing of most importance to help people to wake up to this stuff. Now, the only way for you to realize the right-left paradigm ultimately is through Jesus Christ, because he was not in the right-left paradigm. But very few people ever understand this truly. Now, this next story is bizarre. This giant statue of this black woman just dropped in Times Square, and people are having a complete meltdown over the alleged stereotypes it perpetuates. I mean, literally, it's a giant statue of a black woman, and it's done in black color. What are they on about? Like, what are they doing? This is like really weird. What is this about? Why is she black? The installation features the woman standing with her hands on her hips, dressed in a t-shirt and pants as she gazes out into the open space. Apparently it's super big too. The statue is part of a series called Grounded in the Stars by British figurative artist Thomas J. Price, an attempt to help deconstruct preconceived notions of people's identities while also emphasizing how black individuals can claim their space freely on their own terms. That doesn't even make any sense. I hope Grounded in the Stars will instigate meaningful connections and bind intimate emotional states that allow for deeper reflection around the human condition and greater cultural diversity. I don't get how a statue like that would do that. It's just silly and it's weird, isn't it? It's silly and weird. So, what else is going on? Well, and people are like, Casey, when are you going to stop covering Trump? Unfortunately, things are moving so fast, and every day he's doing something different. If we were to stop covering Trump, you would be uninformed. Let's put it that way. Trump is spinning everything around. He loves to spin. He's a spin doctor. This guy could be following, and he would say, oh, that's a good thing. It'll make us all rich. And people would believe it. He's now saying that the empty supply ships is great for America. Trump calls emptying U.S. ports a good thing despite supply chain panic, because that means we lose less money. Now, we've been through this before. As I told you, we've been through the shortages before. It happened during the pandemic when people were trying to get out of the beast system. They were trying to be in freer places in the U.S., trying to build. I was one of those people. And you couldn't get parts, you couldn't get wood, you couldn't get anything during the pandemic. You could not build. But guess what? When you look around the city I was in from where I moved from, there were high rises and apartment buildings going up all over the place. to keep you locked in the city. But when you try to build a house outside the city, you're going to pay double. Do you understand now what this is about? They don't want you in the country. Why are we going to make their job easier by listening to them? We shouldn't. We should exercise our right. We should do what the Most High said. Be fruitful and fill the earth, not go into cities and be all stacked on top of each other where we're easily controlled and easily poisoned. So here we are again, 4 years later, and it's the same thing. Empty ships. Remember all the ships that were the container ships that were stacked up in the harbors? They couldn't get in. Well, that was a blockade. That was preventing all of us from moving on with our lives. They were going to make us stay in our homes. They were going to make us listen to them. And here we are again. They're going to make us listen to them. They're going to withhold the goods. Now, I understand it's from China, and I get all that. But what's the backup plan? Until we create these things for ourselves, it is unfair to middle-class people for them to shut off our supply. It is simply unfair. Now, this has not hit the economy quite yet. I mean, I did go grocery shopping the other day, and everything was probably about 10% higher in costs, 10 to 15% higher. When I typically go in and get groceries, it's like maybe 125, 150 bucks. This time it was like 175, 180. And it's going to get worse. And right now you can still go on Amazon or wherever and order Chinese products. But as soon as those inventories are gone, those products are going to be double or triple. That is our future. Until all these factories, American factories, come online, that could take years and a very slow and painful process. Car parts and everything else. Prepare for sticker shock. And again, this affects people like you and me disproportionately compared to rich people, because more of our income is spent for survival versus pleasure and stability, right? We don't have the luxury of saying, oh, who cares if things go up? I got $3 million in the bank. You see the problem here? But when you've got $3 or $5 million in the bank, you don't really care if it costs you double for your groceries, because that's a very small part of your income. This is the problem, you guys. And we just invited it in because all these people are stuck and they can't stand on moral principle and demand that Trump do certain things because they don't want to give the liberals any power. This is the raw truth about all this. So Trump says, oh, this is a good thing. Shipping volumes at U.S. ports have decreased drastically as a result of sweeping tariffs, despite supply chain professionals warning the port traffic slowdown could lead to goods shortages and increased consumer prices. Trump said emptying ports was a good thing because it means less trade with China. What about all the jobs? Millions of jobs working at these ports are now gone overnight. For how long? Who knows? Because we're supposed to just trust Trump, right? Who knows how long those jobs will be gone? What are all those people going to do? Now we've got more unemployed people trying to get a job in the job market. All the federal people that got laid off in the job market looking for a job. Private sector also followed. They did a bunch of layoffs too because they followed what the feds did. They're all looking for jobs. Gosh, this is almost starting to sound like maybe 25% of the American people don't have jobs anymore because of all this. How is this helping America? How is it helping America? This should have always been a gradual process. It should have happened slowly, one at a time, one sector at a time. You have the factories built and then you detach those products from China. That's how this should have happened. Not in the first 100 days of the presidency all at once. Now, what else is going on? Well, Trump's talking about suspending habeas corpus. White House says Trump is considering suspending habeas corpus. What would that mean? Let's listen to this guy.
The supreme law of the land, that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in a time of invasion. So I would say that's an option we're actively looking at. Look, a lot of it depends on whether the courts do the right thing or not. At the end of the day, Congress passed a body of law known as the Immigration and Nationality Act, which stripped Article 3 courts, that's the judicial branch, of jurisdiction over immigration cases. So Congress actually passed, it's called jurisdiction stripping legislation. It passed a number of laws that say that the Article 3 courts aren't even allowed to be involved in immigration cases. Many of you probably don't know this. I'll give you a good example.
And of course, this applies to habeas corpus for the illegals, but we are right on the brink of the complete and total loss of all of the rights that we've been accustomed to. And this is not good for America. Now, this next story is a little sobering because this is where it's all headed. Here's a specific example of how everything they're doing with the illegal immigration is spilling over into Americans' lives. I've already given examples on previous shows. How they, like, what was it? We did a story where they did a raid on a home looking for illegals, and people could have been killed, and they were Americans. Federal government is now working with local law enforcement that they have already increased their powers and protected them legally with federal money so that they can get representation in court, lawyers. What did they do? This was to implement a dragnet in Tennessee. 100 people were arrested of suspecting of being illegal. They work with the Highway Patrol. Let's read this. More than 100 people have been taken into custody. Now, some of these people are Americans by federal immigration officials in a joint operation with the Tennessee Highway Patrol, leaving many in Nashville's immigrant community uncertain and worried. Now, try to remove your mind from the illegal part about this, okay? Because that's, yes, absolutely, we need to control our borders, but this is way over the line. A literal dragnet. Local law enforcement that's had increased powers. The federal government randomly stopping people and saying, show me your papers. None of us have ever seen anything like this. Lisa Sherman Luna, executive director of Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition, said Friday, the operation with U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement is a reminder of how local and state law enforcement jurisdictions are critical to President Trump's plan for mass deportations. Last week, Florida officials touted a joint operation with ICE that resulted in 1,120 immigration arrests. Notice they say immigration arrests. They're not going to know if they're Americans or not until they process them. So Americans are getting caught up in these stops. Highway Patrol said Friday that it made 588 stops in the joint operation with ICE, which took custody of 103 under investigation for immigration violations. The stops led to the recovery of illegal drugs and firearms. So again, typically, you're not supposed to be able to go after somebody if you find other things not related to what you originally went to arrest them for, right? Well, here they did. They got illegal drugs, firearms, taking dangerous elements off the street, making Tennessee safer. One person they found was wanted for a killing in El Salvador out of the 100. Tennessee's Governor Bill Lee recently signed a law creating a division of immigration enforcement with the state's Department of Safety and Homeland Security, which includes the Highway Patrol. He is one of a number of Republican officials pledging to use state resources to carry out Trump's plan. So this is the future. Casey, this has to be done. It's like rooting out terrorism. That's exactly what they want you to think. The problem has been created by the left intentionally. The reaction was toward the end of the Biden presidency when Tren de Agua and MS-13 and all that. That was all hyped up so that Trump can come in and quote unquote fix the problem. Problem, reaction, solution. Now, imagine you're caught up in a sting. I want to give you a scenario because some of you look Hispanic. Imagine you're caught up in a sting. You're driving down the freeway. And let's say you got your brother and your uncle, and they all look Hispanic too, and they're in the back of the truck or they're in the back seat. And they decide to profile you and pull you over. Tennessee Highway Patrol pulls you over because you could be an illegal. And now the burden of proof falls on you to prove that you are not illegal, to prove that you are an American. And let's say you guys are on your way to the fishing hole or to the swimming hole, and you don't have your identification with you. Whoa, some military helicopters just flew over the house. I don't know if you can hear that. I don't think it's a Chinook, but those might be. I've seen other military helicopters flying over. They love to do that out here. Anyway, the burden of proof falls on you to show the proper paperwork. And guess what? Maybe a driver's license isn't going to cut it anymore. Because why? Let's see who gets the answer. Why would a driver's license not cut it anymore? Oh, because Biden and Obama let illegals get driver's licenses. So if you don't have a real ID, you could literally be deported. Literally, if you just fit a profile. Oh, you can't show identification? Oh, well, I have it at my house. Or let me try to find my social security card. Nope, we're not going to let you do that. We're going to send you to processing. We don't have time for that. This is not good, you guys. I'm trying to get you to put yourself in the shoes of the people that are dealing with this. Because you could find yourself on a plane back to a country you've never been before. Because maybe you were mistaken for someone else. Maybe they read your face print. And your face print matched up with some known gang member. Do you see the problem here? You guys, my kids are half Guatemalan and half American. They're half me. Their mother is not here legally. They are, of course, because they were born through me. Do I want my children to go through this? Think about what Jesus would do. And think about what will happen to us eventually if we don't stand against this tyranny. Now, what else is going on? Now, here's what I would rather have happen, okay, than what we're doing now. I feel like the solution to all this is a lot simpler than we think. People who harbor, pay wages to, or financially assist illegals should be the ones who are fined and arrested. That way you narrow it down, and then the illegals with no resources will be forced to self-deport. So you remove the incentives. We've been saying this since the beginning. And then you go after and prosecute, I guess is the word, the people who are enabling this. So a lot of that's going to happen in California, in the border states. You go in and you find who's paying people under the table, paying illegals, and you deal with them. That way, look, a crime's been committed. Not this hunting expedition, this fishing expedition that's going on, that's dragnetting law-abiding Americans into it. You get rid of, it's like, okay, I fish. There are sometimes you have to walk for miles to find where the fish are. Why? Because the fish follow the food. No food, no fish. They simply don't exist because why would they stay there? And it's the same thing. You go after the people that are allowing and enabling illegals to stay here. It's that simple. And they will present themselves through attrition. So I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit troubled about local law enforcement cozying up with the federal government to trample on American rights. even though they're rooting out illegals. I feel like it's an excuse. I feel like it's an excuse to practice and getting away with things that they normally wouldn't get away with. I think it's desensitizing police, because that's one step away from you and me, and this happening to you and me under whatever new guise that they want to push. What if Trump says tomorrow, oh, I'm doing a fentanyl executive order, and now we're looking for fentanyl. Now we're done with the illegals. Now we're looking for fentanyl. We suspect you have fentanyl. How do you suspect that? Well, we just think. We think, so we're going to do stings, random stings, and trample on American rights. This is what's coming. Now, this next story, this is weird. And I feel like this is gaslighting. Trump is doing this to bait people in to being very angry about these deportations. I'm angry for other reasons. Yes, those people broke the law. They should be dealt with and deported. The way it's happening, though, I don't agree with. Trump administration is now chartering a plane to bring the first white South Africans to the U.S. as refugees. And about the only way that you could shake this story out is out with the brown and in with the white. Literally, as planes of illegals are being flown out and none of them given refugee status, Trump is literally sending a chartered plane to South Africa to bring in white South Africans into the country under refugee status. It's pretty much in our face. Now, don't get all upset about this, because that's what they want you to do. He's gaslighting here. Now, I always told you guys that real racism only exists with people who have power over you. I don't believe in the actual definition of racism. So, a restaurant owner can't really be a racist until they refuse you service. And even that, they're legal, they're legally, they could do that. But I would say that's like right on the line, right? Because you're now interfering with the American experience based on a color. Okay. And the same rule applies for like a mechanic or your neighbor. Until they have some kind of power over you, your experience, to me, that's not racism. Now, people are going to argue with me about this. Casey, of course it's racism. No, that's their own personal beliefs. You guys, I have good friends who are white, and they tell me straight up, if you met my father, he wouldn't like you because you're black. I'm like, I don't have a problem with that. That's just personal belief. As long as he's not getting in the way of me getting a home loan, a vehicle, or where I can live, right? Or messing with my property. People are entitled to have their personal opinions and beliefs about whoever or whatever they want. It's no different than me not liking Hollywood people and not trusting them and believing that they're programming the rest of us. Is that racism against Hollywood? Absolutely not. Those are my personal beliefs, and I wouldn't want anyone to tell me how to think about that. Now, have I ever experienced true racism? I don't believe I have. No one's ever stood in the way of my equal opportunity because of my race. And in fact, I believe it swung a little bit the other way, or had. Trump's undoing a lot of that, but I was able to get school loans and things, maybe preferential treatment based on my color. Now, there was a story recently, and everyone was up in arms about it. The woman who called the child the N-word. Well, guess what? It wasn't very smart of her to do that. It wasn't very smart of her to marginalize herself like that. And it's just doesn't reflect well on her, right? Why would someone call a child the N-word? But guess what? It's her right to do that. It's free speech. And this is where I have fun with this, because I blow people's minds all the time. because I don't fit the profile of what they are expecting their experience to be with a man of color. And so therefore, guess what? We've helped that person open their eyes about their own personal beliefs and attitudes. That's what makes the world better. When we come to a place where there's no more personal attitudes, Black people have plenty of personal attitudes about white people. Trust me. I've seen it. I grew up in the Black community. I'm Black. So I know it goes both ways. Now people could say, oh, well, they started it. It doesn't matter who started it. It matters who's going to fix it. Who's going to break the barriers? Who's going to overcome the social attitudes? Who's going to take the higher ground? Who's going to give people the benefit of the doubt? Who's going to help bring people to the kingdom? I told a story about a man when I first showed up to this place in Arkansas. He said to me, he moved here because there weren't any N-words in Walmart. I laughed and I gave the guy the benefit of the doubt. And guess what? We became good friends. He invited me hunting on his property of 20 acres, which is just down the road. And sadly, he developed cancer and passed away. But guess what? Before he did, maybe God helped justify some of the hate that he had in his heart through his experience with me, a person that proved all of his misconceptions wrong. We're supposed to be working for the kingdom, aren't we? And how do you work for the kingdom? You bring souls to Christ by being the change that you want to see, by being the example, not by continuing the divide. You see how important this is? You're stacking up your treasure in heaven by setting aside ego and pride. That's what this is about. This isn't about kowtowing to white people. This isn't about, giving in. This isn't about trying to fit in. It's actually a lot harder to do it the way I'm telling you than it is to just give into the paradigm and just hate the other side. It's a lot harder to do it that way. It takes courage. As your own people call you names, right? You should have heard some of the stories. I talk to people, I talk to people that come into my life. One white family told me, yeah, there was this Black family and we brought them pies and things like this. We tried to welcome them in and they didn't talk to us. They told us to leave them alone. I was like, why would someone do that? They're like, we don't know, but we just leave them alone. We just were trying to welcome them into the community. And I'm not saying this is the case across the board. I'm giving you one specific example of how our lack of trust, because of the way we've been programmed, is the barrier, the very barrier of bringing everyone together. Now, let's get into some of this other stuff. Now, here's true racism from the top down. Now, this is mostly gaslighting. This story was put out there to continue to divide America by race. And that's true racism. Why? Because governments have power. They have power to change the narrative, don't they? Government policies that select one group over another. Now, we had that in reverse for decades, didn't we, under the liberal agenda? But what Trump is doing here is not smart. It's just simply doesn't reflect well on him. It's not smart. Why would you do this? At least give refugee status to some of the Hispanic illegals. These people don't have citizenship in South Africa. He's literally letting in white people. So, this is one of the first times I've actually seen him do something like this. It's like they're upping the stakes, aren't they? They're upping the stakes with this. Now, I told you guys years ago that it was a little bit weird that they had not brought in the Hispanic racial divide through predictive programming. Remember these discussions we had? And I said, you know what's weird? They spend a lot of effort dividing white and black people from the top down, don't they? With these stories and all this stuff. But they really never included Hispanics. We never saw Hispanic. Oh, a Hispanic man shot someone. Not until recently. Not until the last couple of years with the Tren de Agua and all that, and Trump bringing that to the forefront. Now the predictive programming has been weaponized against Hispanics. It finally happened. But we told you it was going to happen years ago. I said they'll have their day too. Black-white relations had its day, and now they're going after Hispanics. It's happening now. So, wow. Now, what else is going on? Remember we were talking about the veterans just the other day? What did we say? We said the veterans should be paid more money when they come back. That allows them to be in many other roles outside of law enforcement. Because we just didn't think that they were able to transition back over to civilian life. They were going to bring some of that military aggression. We don't want that on our streets. It's supposed to be about de-escalation. Right? We talked about that just the other day, didn't we? Well, the day after we talked about it, Trump passed an executive order affecting homeless vets. Basically, he's designating a VA-owned property, a huge property down in Los Angeles. Now, this is a good thing. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but it's just weird how we talk about something and then Trump does it. It's just really weird, isn't it? Unless you follow the channel, you'll never know this. But here it is, right here. He's going to give 6,000 vets housing in the LA area using existing VA land. And he's going to give them services and everything else. And again, I think this is a good thing to help the vets. We should have always helped the vets, but this is a huge move. Now, these facilities were being used for other things. So now it's all going to be repurposed to focus on the vets. Apparently, there are 3,000 homeless vets in LA. The most in the nation. It counts for 10% of all homeless vets in America. So most of them are in LA. This is why they're doing it in LA. And this campus, this VA campus in West LA, is going to house as many as 6,000 vets by 2028. So, good job. Now, this is weird. This is our last story today. Now, tomorrow we'll do more between the headlines. I didn't want to overwhelm you guys.
Thank you very much.
But here's Trump. And this was just yesterday. And he uploaded this. These are executive orders. Let's see here. On reversing Biden's climate agenda, which is, again, a good thing. We're going to get a lot of gifts with Trump, aren't we? Along with the poison. Because you gotta have a spoonful of sugar to make the medicine go down, right? So they're undoing everything Biden did. All this appliance efficiency regulations, all this stuff that would have made our products way more expensive, which isn't going to matter anyway, because all of our stuff's going to go double. You think it costs a lot now for a refrigerator. You just wait for a year or two. It's going to be unaffordable because of the tariffs. So Trump's here. He's signing executive orders to reverse Biden's stuff on efficiency. And these people are all like so happy, and they come out one by one for each sector. They're like, yeah, he's going to save jobs and all this. And then something weird happens. Trump looks over and he points. Let me just play this for you so you can hear it and see with your own.
It's an honor. Here's the Golden Dome, by the way, if you're interested. Here's the Golden Dome.
He says, there's the Golden Dome. Now listen to what else he says.
By the way, if you're interested. Here's the Golden Dome. It'll save all your lives someday, maybe. Okay, good. Thanks, Ryan. You hold.
It'll save all your lives someday, maybe. Now, my first thought was, what is he talking about? Look where he's pointing. Let's zoom this up a little bit. he's pointing to something bad. Because at first I thought it was this World Cup, this FIFA, or what was this World Cup thing? But no, he's not pointing at that. He's pointing past that. Here's a model of him in his near quote unquote assassination attempt, which was all hogwash. But he's pointing to something back here. Now, I haven't gotten my hands on whatever it is he's pointing at yet. I did a search for this Oval Office signing of executive orders. Nowhere could I find any photos of what he's pointing at. So there's something new in the Oval Office that's supposed to be the Golden Dome. What is he pointing at? It could save all of our lives someday. So if you guys get your hands on this, whatever he's pointing at, I'm sure it will be revealed. Email it to me, CaseyBrown1973@gmail.com, and we will break it down and decode it. Whatever he was pointing at. This is why we have to cover Trump as much as possible, because every day he's changing something. Every day things are changing. Now you noticed that the camera panned out a bit, but they didn't include whatever was in the frame. Wow. All right, I'm back in the chat, you guys. Wow. Now, I saw older images of the Oval Office, even from as recently as a couple weeks ago, and that wall was shown. There's like a bookcase over there, but I did not see anything that looked like a golden dome. This must have been a new addition, so we will have to see. Gannon says, people with money, I believe, will choose the mark of the beast to keep their money and to survive. Probably. Golden calf, says Dan. So we need the sleuths out there to go and try to find whatever he was pointing at, because I couldn't find it. Some of you are a little bit better researchers than me, even. Sometimes when I say I can't find something and then you send me an email, oh, I found it. I'm like, awesome. Probably a big demon, says Indian Summer. Who knows? He has a golden dome on his head and people think he is going to save us. Poor people aren't giving up their cell phones. Mark already accepted, says Snowball. Shadow banning certain words is insane. Yes, it is. Yeah, so it breaks my heart. This family, you probably follow the channel. It's called Deer Meat for Dinner. And Robert has he had a stroke 2 or 3 years ago. And even back then, I knew what it was because he had started traveling down to these locations down in South America and Central America to fish on these fishing expeditions. And it filmed it all. And in order to do that, you had to get it. In order to fly to these countries, it was a requirement. So I already knew what happened. And then, boom, just a few days ago, he suffered 2 strokes and now he can't even speak. And they're documenting all of it. It's all on videotape. His poor wife, they need prayers. But my prayer is also for them to wake up to what is causing it and say something. Because you literally could be saving other people's lives if they knew what it is. There is no greater honor than to give up one's life to save someone else's. This is in the Bible. Even if it means that you yourself have to give up whatever you think you have. Your treasure is in heaven. Your treasure is in heaven. So we have to put ourselves second, or love others as ourselves in the commandments. So, all right, you guys. Well, I guess I'm going to pop off here. Thanks everybody for showing up. We'll be back tomorrow with some more headlines. Thanks for all your input. And please thumbs up today's video. Love each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.